Ohio is a Midwestern state with a population of 11.8 million, making it the 7th most populated state in the United States. Most people might be surprised to learn of Ohio's connection to the Bigfoot topic. At times in the past, when Bigfoot was closely associated with the Pacific Northwest primarily, there were few places outside of that area that made it onto the radar of Bigfoot searchers. Ohio is one of those places that seemingly broke that idea down.
I think Ohio would be conducive and has a history of reports, in part because the terrain is so diverse, and there are portions of southeast Ohio that actually are Appalachia. They're considered to be the foothills of the actual mountains, so that what you have in many cases are not original growth forest, but secondary and third growth forest. People whose experience of Ohio is largely confined to the northern portion would think that it's an extremely strange place for a large creature to hide, because it's a lot of farmland and a lot of development at this point. But once you get into the eastern and the southern quadrants, then you have just a lot of forest, very rolling terrain, many river valleys, and kind of all of the classic ingredients that you would need to host a larger sort of predator type species.
I don't know what it is about Ohio that it became like the East Coast hotbed of Bigfoot lore. You do not have that Native American lore that is very Ohio, specific to Ohio, that really embraces like the Bigfoot as a character. There isn't that. It's not as obvious as it is anyway in like BC or the PNW. And it's interesting too, because if you look at the cases that took place in the state of Ohio, there's some huge cases, and honestly even some big evidence like the Ohio Howl and over in Columbiana County. And Ohio, there's some big names that come from Ohio in the world of like Sasquatchery. Robert W. Morgan's from Ohio. Don Keating is an Ohio Bigfoot legend.
As far as growing up with stories in the area, yeah, Bigfoot's always been something people have talked about. When I was in elementary school, there was a kid whose family had encounters near their home, and that was just over the hill from where we lived. I mean, he rode the same bus as I did. I don't know, it seems like it was just part of things that we talk about, whether it was taken seriously or not by some people, I don't know, but yeah, Bigfoot's in the woods is something that, we've said before, and yeah, I don't know, not a surprise for me when I heard about the Minerva Monster case.
The origins of the grassman term are actually very interesting because of the location involved. The Kenmore grassman is what's usually being referred to in those reports. Grassman has taken on a life of its own as a term, almost as a catch-all to describe all Ohio Bigfoot sightings and experiences, when in fact originally it was a very specific case, a very specific set of circumstances. But it is somewhat poetic, and it is somewhat descriptive of Ohio terrain. I think that's partially why it stuck.
I had the opportunity at 2:35 on a Saturday afternoon. My dog Waggles was barking over in the valley, and instinctively I was out putting mulch down, and I walked over to that valley, and I saw a Sasquatch literally sitting up, leaning right up against a tree with its legs up and its hands like this. And when I saw it, it raised its head up, and it didn't raise it up fast. It looked like it was so huge that it looked like it was slow motion, and its left hand went out and grabbed this ash tree, which was about 5 feet away, and it literally pulled itself up. And when it stood up, it did like a shrug, like we can shake like this, but it was like a real slow shrug because of its size. And it turned, and when it turned, I'm telling you, that creature, in my expectations, was every bit 4 feet. And the massiveness of the muscle coming up on its neck and stuff. It appeared that the head set forward like this, because when it turned, it picked its leg up and turned to go and walk away. It not only turned, but as it walked away, its head turned and was watching me. And this little thing on my shoulder says, "I would not go over there." And to this day, I chuckle about that because it didn't want to be bothered. And as it walked up through the woods, I mean, I had the opportunity to watch it walk. It just walked, and it stepped over stuff, say 4 feet high, like it was nothing. And you could count 1, 2, 3, hit. 1, 2, 3, hit. And it was like no strain, no noise, no nothing. That's what it did. And I said, "You've got to be kidding me."
In eastern Ohio, one story in particular has stood out, that being the story of the Minerva Monster.
The Minerva Monster was a Bigfoot case that sort of put Ohio on the map when it came to the subject of Bigfoot. Back in 1978, August of 1978. The Caton family were at the center of the Minerva Monster story, and the Catons had been experiencing activity on their property going back a few years prior to 1978.
My family is actually the one that was in the Minerva Monster movie, the Catons. My uncle that was in the movie, he lives in the same house now as my grandparents did back when everything happened. The first story that I remember my mom telling me that she experienced was they were in the bottom yard and they saw a caveman. They described it as a caveman up on the hill. And once they seen him, he took off. And back then it wasn't wooded, like it was strip mined. So it wasn't wooded, and he took off and they started chasing him because he was on their property. And they chased him for just a few minutes and they ended up not finding him. That's like the first experience I remember her telling me about that she had. And then just they would hear things throughout the next, I think 10 or 12 years until 78 came, the summer of 78. And that's when everything really started happening. They called it a chicken coop monster because for some reason it was always around the chicken coop. They would always hear noises, the chickens would throw a fit. Like, they always called it the chicken coop monster until they started having people come, and then they actually suspected it was a person, so they called the sheriff. That's how the sheriff got involved, and then they ended up describing what they would see to an artist, and they drew it, and they're like, "Well, you're describing Bigfoot."
Because of that investigation, they contacted the Akron Beacon Journal, especially like media just jumped all over this thing. And it became a big worldwide story over the course of like the remainder of August and into September. I think even into October, because of Halloween, it really got big. There were Bigfoot car washes and Minerva Monster burgers and all that kind of stuff all around town. The case didn't begin in 78 and it didn't end in 78. And according to the Catons, it's still going on today.
Like to the town of Minerva, the Minerva Monster story is one that is integrally tied to small-town monsters as well. In fact, Small-Town Monsters' first film in 2015 was titled The Minerva Monster, and it chronicled much of what was just described. Around the same time we started filming this production, in September of 2021, Seth began an undertaking regarding a property in Minerva where strange occurrences were taking place. Called the Bigfoot Project, this episodic series has been coming out on this channel and should be paired with viewing this film for a broader picture of what is taking place at this location. In August of 2021, Eli and I spent a few weeks out west in both Colorado and Utah, adventuring and researching in some interesting locations and hiking into truly rugged areas. It was after all this that we drove across the country to Ohio, where we headed straight to Minerva to rendezvous with the rest of the STM crew for a few days out on the property.
Watch out, make sure there's no trees that'll knock this out of my hands.
rural Ohio.
Whoa! Woo! A little bit of air.
So we're out here in Minerva, Ohio. Obviously people are very well familiar with the Minerva Monster story. We're out here hanging out with Heather and Seth and everyone. Just kind of scouting the property out at this point, just seeing what it looks like. Obviously Ohio has a long history of Bigfoot sightings, reports, this area in particular, so a little bit different than the ones we've been doing so far. This reminds me a lot of the stuff back home out east in New England, so I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for the land, obviously listen to the stories that have happened and maybe figure out some spots to hang out. We were going to have multiple teams out here tonight and maybe just see if we can't have anything happen.
We're in the woods in Minerva. We're back by this cabin. Eli's here. There. But I think tonight they're staying out in the woods somewhere, maybe a little further up. We've also filmed a lot of small town monster stuff out here. So we've done some STM filming out in these woods. But what's cool is, so let me see if you guys can see this, but this is a hill.
Yeah, it's an old ladder.
All the way around up there, so it's a pretty good huff up to the top. What else is it like terrain-wise? What's the area like here?
So it's this, and then there's pines. There's a section of pine forest, hills with just fields and stuff. It's just this. It just repeats.
Okay.
This and then field.
It's typical Ohio woods.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what exactly, I mean, as someone as a vet, what do you think about this little chewed up or scratched up area?
So there's no obvious claw marks around it. I mean, there's some light scratching here. So that could be raccoons, possums. There's also some coyotes in this area. Also, this actually looks a little dry rotted too. So I'd say if it was animal made, it's probably more chewed than clawed. Depending on if it's only waste in there or if people were throwing other things down there,
Okay.
your raccoons, your possums, the low-level scavengers that'll eat about anything would potentially go to see if there's anything potable in there.
This is Tommy's first time out bigfooting.
I see this dead tree.
You what?
I see this dead tree.
What do you think about it? Right there. What is that? You filming?
Bones.
You got bones?
I like bones.
Mm-hmm. Don't touch them.
Where they from?
I don't know.
Skeletons?
No. Well, yeah, I guess they are from skeletons.
Why?
I don't know. Let's keep going, see if we can find something else. Oh, there's a big one.
Oh my.
Let me get a picture of it before you disturb it.
Whoa.
So
That's
this is
sweet.
Rib cage, part of a pelvis. Let me back up just a little bit.
You want to do a knock?
So we are in Minerva. This is part of my property, and there's a lot of woods here, and we are within a couple miles, really, of where the Catons had their sightings years ago, and still have ongoing activity, from what I understand.
Could you actually kind of just talk about, I guess, this property? You moved to this property, and I guess just go right into some of the strange stuff that's kind of been going on since
Okay.
then. You haven't been here that long, so.
No, it's been a month, really. We got in here right before school started, so like the week before, mid-August. So a couple weeks ago, a friend came in from Oregon, and we did some like ghost hunting, paranormal investigation or whatever, one night at the house, and then we decided, let's go to the woods, because how cool would that be? And we came up to these woods, and that's when we had some odd things happen. My friend felt very uncomfortable in here. We drove the gator in a little ways because it was dark, left the tailgate down, and went and set up equipment and whatnot in this area, and pretty soon we heard a loud smack, loud enough that it sounded like the tailgate of the gator had to have been slammed shut. It wasn't, but it was definitely something slapping the plastic backside of the gator. Anyway, because I was in like ghost hunting mode or whatever, a loud noise wasn't something that would bother me.
Right.
So I wasn't thinking anything of it. I didn't jump or anything like that, but my friend kept acting like she was seeing something or hearing something. She was looking around, she grabbed the flashlight. Later told me she thought she saw something peek around one of these trees. And it would have been this way because the gator was right in here. She said she saw a head come out and like a shoulder, like it had its arm around the tree. Anyway, she saw that, didn't tell us what she saw, just said we have to go. I can't be in here. Let's go to the field at least. So we went out, got in the field, and we weren't in the field very long before I was like, all right, this doesn't feel like a ghost hunt anymore because we're in an open field. How about we play the Ohio Howl just for fun and see what happens? And we did, and we got a return call over this hill. It came from far away. And then it wasn't very long after that one of the other people with us heard, like, he said it was like chattering, like whispering. And then we heard a loud crack, like something was broken. And then I started to load the gator back up, like, all right, well, you know, maybe we can do this from inside the gator so we're ready to go. And then we all heard what sounded like, the only time I've heard it before is when I came upon a doe and her fawn, this like snorting. I heard that, but it was not that far away from us. And the only thing I was thinking was it was really loud, and I don't know why a deer would have been that close to us because we weren't exactly being quiet. But we all heard that, and it was enough for us to be like, okay, it's time to go. So we left. My friend that was terrified said she'd seen enough or heard enough, and she stayed at the house, and we grabbed someone else and we came back. This time we approached the woods a different way. We would go so many yards, and we'd stop, turn the gator off. I'd play a howl, or my friend did this whistle, which we've heard before. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like, I don't know, it's just a whistle that he does. And the whistle would get returned. The howls got returned a couple times, but they were coming from different areas. One from over here and one from across the road the other way. And then it got quiet, and we would creep closer and closer, and then we got to the edge of the woods, and we said, all right, are we going back in? After debate, we're like, all right, let's do it. Turn it back on, and as soon as we turned it on and just started to inch forward, there was a loud crack that both of the guys in the front were like, okay, no. And immediately we went back home after that.
Now, let me ask you about your friend, the one from Oregon. Oregon Bigfoot, you know, did they know anything about Bigfoot?
Yeah,
like that?
Yeah, but I think that she was more, I don't think that she necessarily maybe thought that it was something physical. So when she saw it and then heard it and realized this thing's right here, I think that really scared her a lot. When we first moved here, I started putting crystals and stuff in the woods because I thought it'd be cool for my kids to find them one day and think that they found these treasures, right? So after we had that experience, I'm like, well, I should go back and check those and see if anything's happened. And in place of one of the crystals, it was a yellow quartz, there was a vertebrae. The quartz was gone, and there was a deer vertebrae piece that was there. In another place, there was it was exactly where the stone had been taken. There was a nut, that could be a squirrel, but the vertebrae is what threw me off. So if you're around here and you see crystals and stuff, that's stuff that I've put around to see, and I take pictures and then see how they've been moved. There's a geode in particular that is pretty hefty. It keeps getting moved several feet in one direction or another. It never lets it like whatever's there never stays, because I'll put them on a stump or whatever, and I lean them against stuff so that it's kind of wedged, and that gets moved all the time.
I think it'd be cool to stay in this area. Eli and I might stay maybe like right here.
Yeah.
We'll set up right in these little woods and have you guys down at the cabin, so see maybe what we can't have happen. Maybe do a fire tonight and just kind of play it cool, see if anything's interested, and then see how the nights progress, because we'll be out here a few nights. So yeah, well, pretty cool.
So we shot a scene for Skinwalker Howl the Rougarou in here a couple months ago, like back in June, and so we know what was here and what wasn't.
Right.
All that stuff stacked there
That
was not here, up against that tree.
So that was not here when you guys
We were
filmed.
looking at pictures, and we don't see it in the pictures from here either.
But and you guys were running around here, you probably would have recognized that, right?
We were running right through here, and they were standing right there taking pictures out. Zach came running through here.
Tree there taking my stills. So.
And when was the last time somebody came around here?
Oh, I was just up here yesterday. That has been here, but it wasn't like, I wasn't thinking of when it was here, because there's so many downed trees and branches and stuff like that. That wasn't just something I hadn't paid any mind
So
to.
basically what happened is somebody came on a private property and built this within the last 2 months.
I mean,
Yes.
build it is being generous.
Well, I mean, this didn't happen naturally. I mean, what are the chances that somebody could come onto here, a human could come onto here and do something like this? I mean,
Why would they do it?
I know.
It'd also be kind of dangerous.
It would be dangerous to do here.
In Minerva, Ohio.
Yes.
I think most rural areas people are armed and keen to people walking around the property.
Right. And this isn't like right off the road either.
I didn't understand the full scope of what was going on until we started planning this project, because she's told me offhandedly things about like Donna's sighting, sounds on the property, the fact that family members have had encounters. But I also think it's important that people understand that activity, Bigfoot activity, or just weird activity in general near Minerva, I hear about it on a, not daily, but weekly basis. We either get Facebook messages or Instagram messages or whatever, like emails relating to activity taking place near Minerva. Road crossings are really common out there. So when someone tells me, even though it was Heather, someone I know very well, even though it's her telling me, I don't know that it immediately struck me the level of activity that she was referring to.
Well, back in, I think it would have been 2013, I had already met a handful of people that had sightings, because there was a lot happening around the golf course down in Carrollton. There were sightings along Route 9, railroad tracks. Where they crossed 9, there had been multiple people seeing a creature run across those tracks at night. On Route 9 and other places, taking like one stride to get across the road. And there were also stories out on the backside of Carrollton, not far from the golf course, of deer being in trees, key pieces of their anatomy being taken, like I think the heart and the liver, neck snap backwards, that kind of thing, but hanging up in the trees. It wasn't hard to find people because this stuff has been happening. It did seem that when the gas and oil companies came into the area and started drilling, that the reports died down. Because once I started to get involved with small town monsters, then people started, I mean, this is home and people know me, or they know a family member, and they would start telling them, hey, tell Heather this, or did Heather know this? People would send me stuff. So that made it a lot easier to find stuff too. But yeah, this is just something that's always been happening.
Of the many local eyewitnesses Heather was familiar with, one of them agreed to an interview with us. So with that, we headed to a location nearby.
We live right smack in the middle of 97 acres here, with a swamp to the west and Eagle's Nest to the east and railroad tracks to the south. Well, when I started staying here regularly, my habit was to get up in the morning and make coffee and then come and sit in front of this window, because I often got to see deer or foxes or swans or whatever was out there. It was just starting to get daylight, and I was sitting over there looking out the window, And I noticed down in the ditch that runs through the property what I thought was probably the largest deer I had ever seen. But my mind kept saying, well, it looks too dark to be a deer. Maybe it's a bear, even though at that time we weren't really hearing about bear sightings. So I stood up to grab the binoculars, and when I stood up, whatever it was also stood up and turned, and I feel, I know it sounds so stupid, but I feel like it made eye contact. And then I reached for the binoculars again, and it just turned and did this like loping, gliding, leaping run right into the corner of the woods. And I was like, nobody's ever gonna believe this, you know? And I don't know what I saw. I know it wasn't a deer, because deer do not stand up and run on their hind legs. And I really feel like it was too tall to be a bear. And the weird sensation that I got when I felt like it made eye contact was just unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
Donna's sighting had never been recreated before, so we headed out to the field where it happened to try and get an approximate size of the creature.
All right, so I was in the room directly to the left of the gray new room that's there now. I was sitting in front of that window. You can see where that kind of open place is in the field between where the soybeans are, and then there's like a dip, and then there's the soybeans. A little bit drier in there, yeah. It was right there, and when it took off, it went that way, and I swear it only looked like it took like 6 leaps until it was in that corner of the woods.
Wow. Was it like a kind of like
it
a
was
lope,
like,
or?
Yeah, I can't do it, but it was like a leap, like almost like slow motion, kind of a bounding type of, yes.
Like that?
Yes, like
okay.
that.
Interesting.
Only bigger, only like bigger.
Sure.
Because, like I said, I can see that it would have had to have been more than 6 steps, but from the house, my impression was, geez, only 6 steps to get to the woods, you know.
And so that little dip right there where you can see kind of the mud, that's where it was?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right, so I think what we'll do now is, if you guys want to head back into that window, we'll get on the phone. I'm going to stand in that spot, and I'll try to, you can maybe tell me how much bigger or smaller it was. So we'll recreate it, yeah.
Wow.
Let's do that.
Okay, so I'm in the spot, I believe. You tell me if
Yeah, that looks pretty accurate to me.
Okay, so you said it was crouched over.
Yes.
So I'm crouched over. How much bigger or smaller or bulkier than me did you say it was?
Probably 1.5 times as bulky, lengthwise, just height-wise, the whole, you know, the whole thing, just 1.5 times easily.
Okay, and so I'm going to stand up now. You said it stood up and looked.
Yeah, it stood up and then pivoted towards these windows and looked right at me, and then turned and bounded off.
So I'm going to use my hand now, and you tell me how much taller you think it was.
Okay, hold on till I get my binoculars. Yeah, if I had to have put a height on it, I would have said 7, 7.5.
7.5, yeah, that seems about right.
And half again your body width, you know, the circumference all the way around.
Okay. So like you said, the biggest deer you'd ever seen.
Yes, only it wasn't.
Yeah, so, okay. So I'm going to try.
And also not fat, you know, just uniformly big, not like, you know, like a big belly or anything like that, just uniformly big.
Can you tell me how fast or how much faster or slower than me it went? So I'm going to start the whole sequence. I'm actually going to put my phone in my pocket, so you can just...
While you're running very fast, it didn't appear to be fast so much as it had just a really long gait.
Yeah, okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, that was exhausting. I tried to run as fast as I could. I got caught up in the soybeans. I don't know how thick it was that time of year. She said it was probably not as high as it is now in the end of summer. But I tried to run, and man, that thing made it in as quick as she did. It was a lot faster than me, and I mean, I used to play soccer. I'm a pretty fast runner. So. As we reconvened back at the cabin, we were joined by STM crew members Mark and Andy Matsky.
We heard a knock. We were at the top of the hill up by where you guys are going to camp tonight.
So you guys heard it. I was back by the car. I didn't hear it, but you heard it over the gator.
It was over the gator, and that's what was so weird. And it was not. We were hearing guns in the distance. This wasn't distant, and it was really clear, like wood on wood.
Even those woods right there.
It would be in these woods right here. And so we heard it over the gator. What's interesting is you could hear the four-wheeler moving through the woods, coming, I guess, over here somewhere. But it was over. I mean, we heard it over the freaking gator noise, the noise of the gator.
So we immediately thought it was these guys here, because that's basically diagonally up, right? So Andy, apparently you heard it as well.
Yeah,
so you didn't do any knocks, first of all.
I didn't do anything.
You guys didn't do anything down here.
We were just sitting in the cabin after you guys had dropped us off, and I was sitting here, just enjoying the scenery, and I heard what sounded like a knock, just one, like, and then it took me a second to, like, think what it was, and I was like, oh, maybe it's them driving back up, like, maybe they ran over a stick, and I waited, and it wasn't you guys. Like, I was like, oh, and so then I was sitting here, and it was, and, like, I was sitting here thinking, like, you know, like, was that actually what I thought it was? It was interesting.
And then we came accusing you guys.
Yeah. Then you're like, did you guys make a knock? And I wasn't.
You didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I told you, and I was like, I'm not going to bring it up unless, like, they talk about it, because I don't want. I don't want to be like, oh, I heard a knock.
Right.
Place
like
is
I'm
strange.
off. Yeah. Yeah, and I heard it from, like, right over there.
Watch that poncho, dude.
I know.
As night rolled around, we hung around the campfire for a bit, tested equipment, and after a couple of hours, decided to do some night hiking and investigating on the property, while Seth and son Tommy went to sleep in the cabin.
How about this? You want these?
What is that?
These are the earpieces.
I can't see what that is.
We don't need
There's
them.
light in my face. I cannot see what that is.
What are those?
They're for the walkies.
Oh. The earpieces.
Oh wait, I think I got it. You guys
got it right here. Can you hear me now?
I'll film Eli. I'm filming you.
Yeah. That works. We'll just do that. Easy way out.
Alright, so you guys want to do a little bit of a night investigation here?
Sure.
Yeah. Wait, why'd you turn back to me again? Okay, that's fine. You can do that. Whatever. I'm sorry.
Just do whatever.
Okay. Alright. You guys want to do a little bit of a night investigation? So, there's that tree stand out in the woods. I was thinking I'm going to go sit up in there for a little while. You guys can drop me off there. Then you can walk around. You can go maybe to another spot. Maybe we can do some knocks back and forth. I mean, we'll have walkies, so either way, you can try that out. I'm going to take the parabolic dish up there and have the FLIR. There's also the night vision. Whichever one of you guys wants to use that, so
Sure.
I think it might be kind of a cool thing to try. What do you think?
Sure. Sounds good.
Cool, let's do it.
Got this. Ready? Mm-hmm. Spotlight effect. Oh, I like it. What? I'm trying to make a serious documentary here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And you're laughing. You might want to tighten that IR.
This is ours.
Oh, that's the one?
Yeah.
Alright.
Wish me luck.
Good luck, bro. Sketch.
Okay, I'm in. Made it up into the tree stand. It's a long way down. There's Eli down there. Alright, well, see you later.
Good luck.
Thanks. We'll talk.
Alright, where do you guys want to go?
Up that way.
Up that way?
Yeah, up that way.
Let's go. That's a barred owl, right?
Yep.
And you know that because it sounds like Who Cooks For You?
Who cooks for you all? Yeah. I'm trying pretty hard to stay quiet and stealthy, but it's really hard up here. I mean, I've got all this equipment and I'm trying not to fall out of the tree. Don't have a lot of area to balance, so I've had to put the parabolic dish down and kind of listen.
So this is the tent.
Metal wires. Fenced fencing. So what tree would be a good one for knocking, Eli?
I think this one would be better. Hey Alex, I think we're gonna do a knock. I think he said he's surrounded by coyotes?
So I was just surrounded by, I think were coyotes. I had 4 different creatures just kind of walking around. Those coyotes that surrounded me just went off in that direction. You could hear them. It's pretty interesting. Pretty cool to hear.
I don't know.
Are they coming up here?
Alright, we're gonna do 2 knocks.
You're allowed to clear over now.
Alright. Sorry, a bug flew into my ear. Alright. Go for it.
I've never done this before.
Nice and loud. Would you be able to do a response?
What did you say?
He wants to listen for a bit. He'll do a response in a few minutes. Yeah, go ahead. He's gonna do 2 responses.
that one more time.
Did you get the text from Seth?
No, I didn't. I haven't checked my phone. I'm not really able to.
So it says one of you do a tree knock over here about 10 to 15 minutes ago, right next to the cabin. Or even weirder, has one of you been pelting the cabin with rocks? We said, no, we're in Rougarou Woods and Alex is stuck in a tree stand. Okay. I said, get a camera on. He said, we got hit with a rock or a tree. We got hit with a rock or a tree knock popped off right outside our cabin and woke me up. Alex said, how loud was it? I don't think we left any audio rolling at the cabin.
No, I don't think we did.
He said, I'm assuming that was you that just did the knock.
No, none of us are at the cabin. We're not even close to it.
So we should go? Should we go? Do we stay? What do we do, Eli?
Hey, Alex, there seems to be a lot of activity going on at the cabin. I think we might head back that way.
Said you're coming back my way.
Yeah, I think we're gonna head back to the cabin and see what's going on.
Okay, sounds good.
Too bad we're gonna be loud. We can't get there quietly.
Should we cut across the field, diagonally towards it? Like instead of following the path?
You know, just head straight down now.
Yeah, should we do that?
We can try it.
Right from Alex's direction. Did you do a knock?
I did not. Did you hear that too?
Yes, we did.
It almost sounded like a tree falling or a branch falling on my end.
Ready? Just try to do this without dying.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't die. You okay?
So here's what's so crazy. When I was sitting up in that tree stand, I got surrounded by like 4 coyotes. They came out of nowhere. I couldn't hear them. I just saw them on the floor. And they were, I'm talking within 10, 15 feet of me. Wow. And they moved out without making any noise. I could see them. I could see their eyes shine when I took the floor off and turned my light on them. It wasn't until they started freaking out all the way over there, that's when I heard them. I don't know if they used this path or what, but it was like ghosts. And I mean, we're talking, you guys just walked through that pretty loud.
Yeah.
They were making very minimal noise, and I was listening with the parabolic dish too.
Wow.
Yeah. Should we talk to Seth?
Yep.
I woke up because whatever hit that tree, it sounded like you guys took Tommy's squatch stick and smacked it upside this tree.
Do we not have any audio?
It was that close. It was like, and so then I was like, oh, they must just be doing knocks. And so I lay there for, like 10 minutes, and then those pops started happening, and I thought something was hitting the house with rocks. It's not. It's just so hot in there that everything's like popping. The heat is like
stove. Yeah, the stove.
So the stove's hitting. So I get up, come outside and realized you guys weren't here. And I was like, ah, crap. It's like it literally, but as soon as I came outside, I started hearing footfall back here. Like 1, 2, 3. Not like crack and then nothing. Like literally crack, 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 crack. Then almost immediately started hearing the same thing across the pond moving. And then, but then it gets creepy because then it sounded like things straight up moved into the pond. Because then you hear like splash, nothing, splash, and then it like starts moving over here.
I heard that dog start yipping.
Yeah.
Around the time you were getting text messages saying that stuff was going on.
Yeah. That owl was funny, man, because that owl scared the crap out of me at first. It went off so loud. That was like right
over here, yeah. The following morning, we did some searching in the woods nearby for evidence of tracks or anything else we could find. With no such luck, however.
Back there?
Later that day, Heather had arranged an interview for us with the owners of a local golf course with a history of sightings and strange activity.
Actually, the first time I actually really started paying attention to it was Chuck Dracy, God rest his soul, he's passed now. The one day he was walking down on our 8th hole and saw a gray creature that he described. And he said, I am never going to walk down there again. And our 8th hole's in a valley, and it's got 2 creeks that join another creek and heavy wooded area and he claims up by the green, whatever it was in the woods, looked at him, saw him, and he goes, it wasn't a bear, he goes, it was big. And then several years later, my son was taking my nephew to his house and comes back and is kind of acting different and said he saw something. And he didn't know what it was, but it was big and hairy, and it was walking across the tree line at the back of the driving range. So he took us out there and he described it. So one of us walked up there and it's like, how big was it? And basically he said, it was way bigger than you, Dad. The next day we cast a footprint that we found in a sand trap down on the 8th hole again, where Chuck had witnessed the first sighting that I knew of.
It was April 12th, 2013, 8ish p.m.
As you can see, it's not real clear, but the big toe's here. And we went to, there's the print in the sand trap. In the sand trap, we just had a spring rain thunderstorm, and the sand trap was probably
It's really wide.
12 to 15 feet wide. So it was like right in the middle. So whatever it was had a stride long enough to only leave one print in the sand. Right. And when we walked on the sand, it left nothing. We couldn't even leave a print with our feet. So.
But if you look at however it jumped, like most of the pressure was like right on here with big toe
you see
and
the heel
everything.
hit, and the small toes didn't make an imprint because, like I said, the sand was very hard. And the sand trap was probably
It's really wide.
12 to 15 feet wide. So it was like right in the middle. So whatever it was had a stride long enough to only leave one print in the sand. Right. And when we walked on the sand, it left nothing. We couldn't even leave a print with our feet. And then we got an exchange student from a few years later, exchange student from Germany. And we were talking about it, and he's making fun of us. And he's like, oh, stuff like that's not real, stuff like that's not real. And the one night he was going home, we only live 600 yards from the clubhouse, and he was going home right before dark on a golf cart. And when Jackie got home, my wife got home, he was in the fetal position on the couch saying, the creature, I saw the creature. And he described it as a big hairy being. And then the last sighting, I was coming home one night late again, general vicinity, and I saw what I didn't know what I saw. It was actually between two of my neighbors' houses. First of all, I thought it was a ghost. And then I go and I tell my wife, I'm like, I don't believe in ghosts, but what I saw was a ghost. It was something. And she's like, how big was it? And I'm like, told her, and she's like, that's the gray one Chuck saw. So right away, I ran to the back porch, and it was, whatever it was down in the woods behind her house. But the weirdest part about that experience was I lost my emotions. I started uncontrollably crying. I wasn't sad, I wasn't afraid, I wasn't anything, but I could not stop crying. And I felt nothing. I mean, my emotions were weird. And I actually went out, I ran off the porch going down and looking at it. My wife's like, what are you doing? And there was no fear, there was no anything, but the emotion was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
It was quite interesting talking with Mike and his wife about the various occurrences around their property. If we had had more time, I would have stopped by the location for a look around, but we still had another night on Heather's property.
Wait, you're a cowboy?
I need a cowboy hat.
Here, take mine.
Thank you. Do I look like a cowboy? Alex, do I look like a cowboy?
Are you a cowboy? Whoa.
fucking those responses, right?
Huh?
It sounded like a response. Let's go.
Like a light one.
I could see your, that's what it was like, because I could see your lights coming, and I heard it, and it sounded, you know, the way that, I think it ringed around, it sounded like it came from over that way.
No, it was me.
Yeah.
I'll sit on the porch a little bit.
The night overall was very quiet, aside from the one possible response to my hand clapping. What that could have been, if anything, is tough to say. We spent quite a while in the area, scanning with the FLIR unit with nothing much seen. Even the overnight audio didn't pick up much of interest.
Home for the night.
Huh?
Home for the night.
I guess. While we didn't find the Minerva Monster, what became clear is that stories like it were commonplace in this part of Ohio. Until more solid evidence comes forward for the Minerva Monster and similar stories, it will remain but a tale told in these small towns, very real to those who have seen it.